to deliver an expert talk in the area of world of wireless communication. So basically, this topic I have chosen for the mass who is attending in the computer science, IT, and electronics and communication area. So this is an overview of the technologies, uh, how the technology started. Uh, so these my topics I am going to be covered today are the history of the wireless communication, then the present wireless technologies, and what will be the future wireless technologies. I'm not going into detail of any technical matters, right? Because a lot of technical things that we are teaching, but today's my topic is in general, and I mostly cover that how many technologies or many kind of technologies are available. So what opportunity as a faculty, as a researcher, or as a student who can work in this area. So that also will be discussed. So mostly all the slides I have prepared, that is I have taken the reference from the Wikipedia. Normally people are not taking the Wikipedia or Google as a reference, right? But to get something in the content to be such that to make my content to be interesting, I have taken it from the Wikipedia, a lot of information, and the blue colored words are having a link. So I will share this PPT to all of you, and I will give it to the authorities, and you can access this in future, and wherever you click the links are given, you will get detail of each and every area of what content I am delivering right now. So history is starting with the 19th century. The idea of wireless communication predates the discovery of radio with experiments in wireless telegraphy via inductive and capacitive induction and transmission through the groundwater and even train tracks from the 1830s. So from the 1830, people have started working in this area to transmit the things, signals wireless. So James Clerk Maxwell is a very known name in the electromagnetics theory. He has given the equations. So he has shown in theoretical and mathematical form in 1864 that electromagnetic wave would propagate through the free space. So that equations are given. Then equations are very popular as a Maxwell's equation. But he has shown theoretically. Practically, first time shown by the Heinrich Rudolf Hertz in 1988, who was able to conclusively prove transmitted airborne electromagnetic wave in an experiment confirming Maxwell's theory of electromagnetism. So, because of that, the unit of frequency is given as a hertz because he was able to prove it practically. The Serbian-American engineer Nikola Tesla, who proposed a wireless power communication earth conduction system similar to radio in 1893, and nowadays we all are familiar with this name, Tesla. Others such as Sir Oliver Lodge, Jagdish Chandra Bose, and Alexander Popov were involved in the development of components and theory involved with the transmission and reception of airborne electromagnetic waves for their own theoretical work. So they have researched in their particular area, and they have tried to uh, transmit the wave by their practical setups. Uh, Always when I'm as a teacher, I'm teaching the subject. I always taking them to the students to the background because they should know that what the history was, how many people have worked in this area, all these scientists, mathematicians, physicists have developed certain things, right? And because of that, right now in this era, we are using the latest technologies, and in future we will work on this particular background. Over several years, starting in 1894, the Italian inventor Guglielmo Marconi built the first engineering complete commercially successful wireless telegraphy system based on airborne Hertzian wave, and that is the first wireless transmission was successfully done by Marconi, and he has demonstrated the application of radio in military and marine communication and started a company for the development and progression of radio communication services and equipment. So he has started his own services, own company for transmission of the radio. So right hand side figure is showing the British Post Office engineers inspect Marconi's wireless telegraphic equipment in 1897. Uh, from there, if we go into the 20th century, am I audible? All are comfortable?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
yes.
No
Fine.
problem.
So this is a history that I am telling, and then I will go with the regular technologies. So in the 20th century, in 1900, Brazilian priest Roberto Landler de Moura transmitted the human voice first time in the wireless manner. And the wireless telephone and the wireless telegraph are noted. They are started in somewhere in November 22, 1904. The next advancement was the vacuum tube detector invented by Westinghouse engineers. So today's generations uh, maybe not familiar with the vacuum tube devices, but when 32 years back when I was studying and I have passed my B, at that time we had a vacuum tube devices and we have studied it. And from that I am the part of the wireless communication journey. At that time, mobile communication, internet was not there, and vacuum tube devices were even we were studying in the syllabus. So on Christmas Eve, 1906, Reginald Fessenden used a synchronous rotary spark transmitter for the first radio program broadcast from Olsen Bluff, Grand Rock, Massachusetts. So this is the first time he has transmitted the radio program. And on Ships at Sea heard a broadcast that included Fessenden playing "O Holy Night" on the violin and reading a passage from the Bible. So this is the first real broadcast was done in somewhere in the 1906. This was, for all intents and purposes, the first transmission of what is known as amplitude modulation or AM radio. So today's generation even not familiar with this AM radio, but those who are of my age, they must have listened this AM radio. And cricket commentary were coming at that time. The live telecasts were not there, but this was begin very early in the stage of early 20th century. So the first radio news program was broadcast in August 31, 1920 by station 8MK in Detroit, Michigan. Meanwhile, regular entertainment broadcasts commenced in 1922 from the Marconi Research Center at Little, England. Sports broadcasts began at this time as well, including the college football on radio broadcast of a 1921 West Virginia versus Pittsburgh football game. So was the first uh, sports game was broadcasted. One of the first developments in the early 20th century was that aircraft used commercial AM radio stations for navigation. So another area, right, in the wireless communication, and it is having a very broad sense. Uh, this continued until the early 1960s. So because earlier AM radio was used for navigation purpose, but then up to 1960 and 1960 there is a development of VOR, that is a VHF omni range systems, and that is more widespread. And before that, AM radio was popular. So in the early 1930s, single sideband and frequency modulation were invented by amateur radio operators, and Edwin Armstrong has shown the frequency modulation system. By the end of decade, they were established commercially or commercial modes. So around 1940, the FM transmission was uh, popular, and even in the World War II, mostly the FM transmission was used. So radio was used to transmit pictures visible at television as early as in the 1920, but commercial television transmission started in North America and Europe in 1940s. So these are some graph or these figures are showing the sideband modulation, AM modulation double sideband with the carrier, and these are the single sideband, upper sideband and lower sideband. This is a AM wave, and this is the FM wave. So right now I am not going in technical detail because everyone is familiar with these technical details, and more we are focusing in the world of wireless communication. So in 1947, AT&T commercialized the mobile telephone service, from which it was started, right, invented, and people were using, but it has a low coverage and low people were using it. So from it started in St. Louis in 1946. AT&T then introduced mobile telephone services to 100 town and highway corridors by 1948. Mobile telephone service was a rarity with only 5,000 customers placing about 30,000 calls each week. So it was very limited access to the users because only three radio channels were available. Only three customers in any given city could make mobile telephone calls at one time. Mobile telephone service was expensive at that time, and the advanced mobile phone system that is called AMPS, normally we are calling it a first generation mobile. It was an analog mobile cell phone, and it is developed by the Bell Laboratory and was introduced in the America in 1978 because proposal was given somewhere in 70 to 73, and then final setup was arrived, and it was working commercially in 1978. It was the primary analog mobile phone systems in North America and other locals to the 1980s and into the 2000s. So up to 80, 90 are the area or era where the people were using the first generation phone. The right hand side, some look of the old phones, that is first generation phone, that is called as a mobile phone. Then following development of the transistor technology, bipolar junction transistor led to the development of the transistor radio. So once the vacuum tube device has completed their functioning and the new development of the transistors came, so then the drastic revolution in the electronics communication has taken place. In 1954, the Regency Company introduced a pocket transistor radio, the TR1, powered by a standard 22.5 volt battery. So it was bulky, and it was radio transmitter, and it was transmitting the signals for a long distance. In 1955, the newly formed company Sony, so everyone is familiar with the Sony company introduced its first transistor radio, the model TR55. It was small enough to fit in a vest pocket, powered by a small battery. It was durable because it had no vacuum tubes to burn out. In 1957, Sony introduced the TR63 model, the first mass-produced transistor radio, leading to the mass market penetration of transistor radio. So earlier less people were using the radio. And I remember somewhere in 1975-76 when I was a kid, my daddy was using the radio receiver, and at that time we had to take the license of that. But nowadays we are not even using the license for that, and all the license system is now removed for having a radio receiver. Over the next 20 years, transistors replace tubes almost completely except for high power transmitters. So even those who have visited the Akashvani government radio transmission station, so where the high power transmitters are there, still people are using the vacuum tube and remaining old part, right? Almost vacuum tubes are outdated, and the people are using the transistors. So transistor basically is not a radio, but it's a silicon or a germanium device, and that is a semiconductor device we are calling it, right? But many places in the villages, even today, transistors are the radio receivers. By the mid 1960s, the Radio Corporation of America were using metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor, that is MOSFET, in their consumer products, including FM radio, television, and amplifier. So development has started parallelly with the development in the electronic side, and the MOSFET devices were introduced. And metal oxide semiconductor large scale integration (LSI) provide a practical economic solution for radio technology and was used in mobile radio systems by early 1970. So all the basic transistors are now replaced by the MOSFETs, and some integrated chips started. That is a low scale or sorry large scale integration, and that is LSI. And then today's we are mostly working with the VLSI. That is a very large scale integration. By 1963, color television was being broadcast commercially. Not all the programs are colored, but some programs are black and white. Uh, Still, I am remembering when I was uh, going to, or I went to the Mumbai for the vacations because I was living in the Saurashtra region, and my relatives were staying in the Mumbai, and I was watching every Sunday there was movie and the black and white. Chitrahar and all the things like. So somewhere 1976-78, we were using the black and white televisions. And after 82, in India, if we recall, Asiad was launched, and at that time we were the host of the Asiad, and we have permitted to buy or import the color televisions, and mostly the color televisions arrived in somewhere from 1982 onwards. In India, a lot of color television transmission stations were established by the Doordarshan. The first communication satellite, Telstar, was launched and satellite communication started. So in today's topic, I have not covered detailed satellite communication because satellite it is also a part of wireless communication and lot of things that we can do with the geostationary orbit and polar orbit. Geostationary orbit we are using mostly for the communication purpose and uh, polar orbits mostly we are using for the remote sensing purpose. And nowadays, remote sensing is another good area of research that people are working in. And a lot of information we are nowadays we are getting from the remote sensing satellites. In 1970s, LORAN, that is a long range navigation, became the premier radio navigation system. So that was using the hyperbolic curves and multiple transmitters are there, masters and slave setups, and they were detecting the positions of the aircraft in the air and ships in the ocean. So LORAN system was introduced in somewhere in the 1970s. Soon the US Navy experimented with satellite navigation, committing in the launch of the Global Positioning System, that is GPS, and their different constellations are now available. And satellite navigation is most popular nowadays, and mostly even in the Google, we are getting the GPS and air traffic control. All the pilots are getting the GPS navigation as well as all the ships are getting the GPS navigation. So GPS is nowadays more popular applications for the navigation. In the digital era, if we go in 1970, the all are comfortable, ma'am?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. So right now I am just taking the history. Please allow me. Okay. So in the 70s, the US long distance telephone network began to transitions towards a digital telephone network, employing digital radios for many of its links. So this is a digital era. Digital electronics become popular, microprocessor popular, right, in the 70s. And then related to the digital, lot of new development arrived. And in the communication also, we got lot of benefit because of that. So transition towards digital telecommunication networks was enabled by mixed signal MOS integrated circuit chips using switch capacitor and pulse code modulation technologies. So everyone knows that analog to digital conversion, we required sampling and quantization. So quantized output will be the PCM, pulse code modulation, and that is the development in the somewhere in the 70s. In the late 1980s, Asad Ali Abedi at UCLA developed RF CMOS, that is a radio frequency CMOS, a radio transceiver system on a mixed signal MOS IC chip, which enables the introduction of digital signal processing in wireless communication. So DSP is basically tool. Uh, Everyone aware of DSP. There is different tools that we are using like signals classification, system classification. Then we are having impulse responses. Then we have convolution tools, correlation tools, FFT, DFT, set transform. So these all are the tools that we are using. Suppose in the wireless communication 4G technology, we are using OFDM system, that is orthogonal frequency division multiplexing. So that is using the FFT and IFFT. So DFT is a part of it. Many where we are using FIR filters for conditioning the signals. So that is all the part of the DSP. So this was introduced in somewhere in 1980. So DSP is now going to be the dominant with the wireless communication. In 1990, discrete cosine transform, DCT video coding standards enabled digital television transmission in both standard definition TV, SDTV, and high definition TV, HDTV formats. So because of the high quality coding, discrete cosine transform is basically for the video coding use, and because of that, we can transmit the high definition system or signals with the HDTV. In the early 90s, amateur radio experimenters began to use personal computers with audio cards to process radio signals. So I remember that in 1997, I have purchased my first computer, but it was not having the CD drive inbuilt. But I had purchased the Creative Suite. So Creative Company was very popular for making the CD drives, and they have the different audio cards, so that will capture the audio, and you can connect the. It can work as amplifier, and you can connect the speakers, and you can write the CD. Everything you can do. So that was separate setup was available. So in early 90s, amateur radio experimenters began to use personal computer with audio cards to process radio signals. In 1990s, the wireless revolution began with the advent of digital wireless network. It began with the introduction of digital cellular mobile network. So is today's cellular system we are using, it was started in the digital format. So the technology that we are calling as a 2G, and that was introduced in 1990. It began with the introduction of digital cellular mobile networks enabled by laterally diffuse metal oxide semiconductor, that is called LDMOS, and power MOSFET is also defined in the series of power MOSFET. Because of that, you can have a good transmission capacity, RF power amplifiers, and CMOS RF circuits. So mostly people are working in the VLSI designs, but there is a micro integrated circuit, MIC is also there. Related to the RF, lot of thing you can do, right? And suppose I have completed my master's from BIT Mesra Ranchi. So I had a specialization in micro engineering. So all the subjects that I learned, and the different laboratories were there, and we had a lot of exposure in designing of RF filters are there, and antennas were there, right? So all these things that that is available right now in India also. So these people can work on. In 1994, the US Army and DARPA, that is the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, launched an aggressive, successful project to construct a software-defined radio. So normally we are calling it a SDR, that can be programmed to be virtually any radio by changing its software program. So this normally SDR sticks are also available in the market at a very low cost, and you can receive the signal, and with computer, with the software you can connect, and you can see the power spectrum of the received signal. So that is also one good technology, and this is in the beginning stage at that time, and then a lot of development is also in the area of SDR. Then the digital transmission began to be applied to the commercial broadcasting in the late 1990. And digital audio broadcasting, DAB, a digital radio standard launch in Europe, ISDB. These are all standards. A Japanese digital television standard was launched in 1996 and was later followed by the ISDBT digital radio standard. So then the up to 1990, 95, 2000, all these things is now in the new shape. Now I'm going to talk about the today's technology. Are you all comfortable?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this was history, right? I started with somewhere 1830 to 1864 from the Maxwell equation to up to 2000. And now in 1995 to 2000 in India, we have seen the pager technology also. So that was the messaging service were available, and it is a one-way communication. Only simplex transmission was there. So that is all up to uh, that in the 20th century. Now in the 21st century, we are moving with the new communication era. So I have given the link here, right? for not typing everything in the slide, and I have just kept the link here. So what I can do is, suppose I am clicking here, right? So I can get the access of Wikipedia, and started with the 0G, that is the first generation before the first generation, and you can read that technical parameters or something, that how it is developed, right? So that something in the basic you can start with. So suppose mobile phone generations are given here in the right hand side. So mobile telecommunication like analog, then it is a, suppose 1G or 0G, right? So 0G is what? Mobile radio telephone systems were telephone systems of a wireless type that preceded the modern cellular mobile form of telephony technology. Since they were the predecessors of the first generation of cellular telephone, these systems are sometimes retroactively referred to as the pre-cellular or sometimes zero generation, that is 0G system. So before the development of the uh, cellular system, can you see this pen? Suppose this is the area. Can you see this pen?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Fine.
sir.
So there is a single tower, and people were using, suppose this is a car. My drawing is not that good, but this is a single tower. So it was covering the entire area before development of the cellular system. And those who are having a receiver capacity, and they can have the access to the tower, and they get the communication, and there is a single tower, high power transmitter were required, analog tower was there. So technology was like that. And then they have distributed the technology or the area into the cellular setup. So that is a hexagonal cell. They have started distributing the area in this form, right? And they have made the clusters of the. So this is the concept of cellular technology, and you can reuse the frequencies and all. So right now, as I mentioned, I'm not going to, because anytime if time will permit, right? I will discuss, because I am teaching this subject. I've done my PhD in this area, and mostly I work in the MIMO technology, spatial multiplexing, LT. So this was my area of PhD, and this subject I am teaching for last 7 to 8 years in VVP Engineering College. So this is the basic cellular concept arrived when the cellular concept was introduced in the 1G, and then after it is in the 2G. So link is provided, right? What my aim is that I had given the link, and now suppose I am closing this. Sorry. Okay. Visible? Slide is visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fine.
Yes, sir.
Now see, there are a lot of names given, right? 1G technology is analog network, 2G technology, it is a digital network. In 2G, there are different sets. People were, suppose, so 2G was started in, say we are having 3 zones like USA, then we have Europe and Japan. So if you see in the literature, in the book, like suppose you are using the book of famous author Rappaport, so you will get all the tables. So how the Europe has developed, how US has developed. So mostly USA has focused on the CDMA technology. That was a IS 95 technology, interim standard 95. And Europe has started with the GSM. So that was from the Europe. And Japan was using the IS 136 standard initially, and it was following the uh, USA. So they have different frequencies, they have different frequency of operation, then they have different modulation technique, they have different carrier separation like bandwidth. Like suppose if you consider CDMA, it was using 1.25 megahertz of the bandwidth, it was using 200 kilohertz of the bandwidth. Like that, all the comparisons are given. So that is in the book, that if you are teaching to the students, right? So that is available in the book. So 2G networks are basically the digital networks. They were using the time division multiple access, and 1G network was using frequency division multiple access. So that is FDMA. And in 2G, there are digital AMPS, that is the first generation analog mobile phone system was converted into digital. GSM was, as I mentioned, in the Europe, they have started global system called mobile communication. CDMA 1. So that was a CDMA technology. So first generation of CDMA, that is IS 95 A and B, are coming into this category as a CDMA 1. And then they have moved to the next generation, that is the 2.5G. Suppose GSM, right? So I go with the clicking onto the GSM. So here you will get all thing about the GSM, right? And more detail, you go and study about like history, the first network introduced, how it is adopted, right? What is the architecture? Okay. So in every network, there is a architecture. Suppose I'm clicking here, right? So I get the architecture. So if you see the GSM architecture, your mobile phone is the fundamental unit, and that is the uh, receiver, or we can say the user. And user is connected with the SIM card, and SIM card is installed in the mobile phone. Now mobile is connected to the BTS, there is a base transceiver station, and that is connected to the BSC, that is a base station controller. So these are two are the called BSS, there is a base station system. So in the base station system, there are two setups. One is the BTS and second is BSC. Now mobile is communicating to the BTS, then it is going with the switching with the base station controller, and then it is going to the main service station, that is MSC. So that is a mobile switching center where it is keeping the record of the user and all kind of data of the user. Suppose user is from which territory. Suppose I am from Gujarat, so my registration is in the Gujarat state, and suppose I am coming to Nagpur, then I am in the roaming, so I am using the services of Maharashtra. So like that, MSC is keeping the record whether I am a visitor or I am the user. Home location register, visitor location register, there are many things are coming here into the picture with the MSC. And they are also connected to the circuit switch through the PSTN, that is a public switch telephone network like BSNL or MTNL. So they are giving the public telephone service. So they are also connected to the uh, gateway, and that is MSC, and that is also connected with the internet service provider. So all these things, right? And this MSC is connected with HLR, authentication service, visitor location service, right? Equipment identification, registration, all these EIR, all these things are there, right? So those who are teaching GSM network, they should know that how the GIS architecture is working. Now, what is the growth? We are moving from GSM to 2.5G. So there is a GPRS network or Edge network, EDG. Then we are moving to the 3G. So again, 3G architecture is bit change compared to this. Then we are in the 4G. So complete LTE structure will come into the picture, right? So what is the LTE architecture and all? So here, I'm coming back to my slide, right? So I have covered this slide in such a way that you click the link and you can get the access of that technology to understand it, to study it, right? So GPRS is general packet radio service. Edge is the enhancement in the data in the GSM. So enhancement in the data for the GSM evolution. Right. Is it clear? So why these links are provided? You may be feeling that it is not a conventional kind of lecture that I am delivering, but this kind of thing, if you start with, right, for the students, those to whom you are going to teach the mobile communication or wireless communication technology, and giving this information to them so they can get the clear idea that how many people have walked, where the present scenario is, and where we are going to move from here to next generation. So this is all about the mobile telephony with the first generation, second generation, and 2.5G. That is a 2.5 generation. Is it clear? Any query? Am I audible?
No, sir.
Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. Thank you. Then 2.5G2, we are moving to the third generation. Would you like to go in technical of it, or in the manner that I am going, I am explaining each and every technology, right? It would be better for you.
Sir, if
Okay, sir.
some research-oriented perspective is there, then just speak about that. And the
I have
basic
taken it
parts.
as a generalized form, right? Because
Okay.
I will definitely focus on it, right? From suppose GSM, okay? How many of you know that how we can simulate the GSM architecture? Do you know any tool?
No.
Any idea,
No, sir.
right? So I am working in this, right? I am having a NetSim software. We have licensed software here, and I can simulate all this system, right? GSM architecture I can simulate. I can create my base station. I can create number of mobile, and I can connect with the MSC, and I can simulate, and I can get the all data throughput, how the connectivity is taking place, what is the latency, every detail, right? So if you are interested in this kind of thing, another session we can conduct at any time, not today, or you can have my email ID. You can access to me, right? I will guide you. Not an issue. So mostly the research is going on. It is in the two part. One is the hardware part, and second is the software part. Software is a simulation tool. Like suppose in the next generation OFDM, I want to simulate, or some WiMAX technology I want to simulate. I can use, or advanced CDMA technology I want to simulate. I am using MATLAB. Somewhere you can find the MATLAB icon. You can find NetSim also. This is a NetSim. If it will start, then I will discuss. Okay. So main theme will be in the side track, because my aim today's my aim is to give you the detail of all kind of. Okay. I have to switch on this.
Am I audible?
Mayuri madam, please be louder if you want to ask question. Please be louder. Mayuri?
Sir, actually, I was asking. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So there is a, I have to start with my license files, and once it is there, then I will access this NetSim. So that is dongle is right now at the server, and the server may be switch off because we are not normally connecting it. So this is a NetSim software license version we are having. MATLAB is there, another simulation tool that I am using, and lot of research work I have done, a lot of papers I have published with the MATLAB simulation, and right now I am focusing in the NetSim. But that is all I will discuss later on. If those who are interested, or they can contact me personally, I will guide them. Not an issue.
Sir,
But
there
today's
is one
my
question from
yes,
the
yes,
audience.
yes,
There is one question. Mayuri madam,
yes,
please
please.
ask. Mayuri madam?
Sir, yes, ma'am.
Hmm.
Am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Sir, I
Yes.
was actually curious. Could we have the simulation demo, like a short demo through MATLAB?
Yeah, I can show. I can show any demonstration, right? But see, for the knowledge of wireless communication, let me draw one block diagram. You should have that knowledge for doing the simulation. Okay. I will show you the demonstration, not an issue. One
Okay, sir.
minute.
Thank you.
For the communication, everyone should know this block diagram for the wireless communication. This is my first block, the information signal, right? We are going to communicate. Mostly the information are in the audio format, text format, voice, that is a speech, is video, or images, right? So suppose information is there, if it is captured by the camera, and then it is converted by analog to digital converter. When you are converting it, you are doing some source coding. That is reducing the number of bits. First step is doing the source coding. Source coding is what they are doing when we are taking the samples, right? And then we do the quantization. So all this process you should know. I insist everyone, those who are doing the simulation in the wireless communication, they first know this block diagram, each and every block's work, and they have to study this. They have to understand sampling first. They have to understand quantization first. Then you are putting this quantization and you are making the code. Like you are making the code like this, right? So your data will be digital. When you are converting from analog to digital, you are doing the quantization. These quantizations required that suppose you are using the 3-bit quantizer, then suppose it requires the 8-bit. Suppose 3-bit are representing, okay? So you required 8 level. So here you required 8 level of the quantization. So that is covering the 3-bit. So your each value of your information signal will be getting 3 bits of the memory. Now when you are using the higher number of encoder, that means suppose you are having a quantizer and you required 1024 number of quantization. So definitely your bit requirement will be higher. So when your bit requirement will be higher from initial stage by doing the A2D conversion, so there are a lot of research here in the A2D converter is there. Then there is a source coding like differential pulse code modulation, adaptive differential pulse code modulation, delta modulation, adaptive delta modulation. These all are the basic digital communication concept are using the source coding. So they are reducing the number of bit at the time of A2D conversion. Then you are encrypting the data, right? Every time it is not required, but you are encrypting or scrambling. Whatever the data bit you have kept, you are changing the situation. Like suppose I am having a data like this, I am changing the data into format. So I am doing some encryption. So original data cannot be captured by anyone. And then I am putting the channel coding. My handwriting may be difficult to judge, like you can understand this, right? I am speaking here channel coding. Okay. So channel coding is what? When you are sending the signal into the channel, with the wireless channel, there are chances that suppose right now I am speaking, but you are not getting my voice clearly. Many of you are having a trouble because your network connectivity is the issue, devices are having an issue, right? And all the time the conditions are not same. Wireless channels are very
Excuse me, sir.
time sensitive. It's a time varying channel.
Hello.
It's not time invariant channel like in the DSP. So time varying channel is giving the problem into the communication, and there are lot of data is going to be destructed or it is in the error. So channel coding is basically used like the block codes, linear block codes are there, or cyclic redundancy codes are there, right? Or convolutional code are there. Yes, sir.
Sir, where this encoding will be done? Whether it is at the source end or at the router end or at some switch
Yeah, it is at the
point
transmitting end. Suppose right now I am
transmitting
speaking.
means where? Transmitting means within the
Yes,
channel
sir.
itself.
Yes, sir. I am telling you.
How it can be done? Please
Yes.
explain.
Okay. So all these things, right? A2D converter, source coding, encryption, channel coding have their own algorithms. And as your question, transmission. Suppose I am speaking here from my computer, my data is going into the switch to my router, then router to my gateway of internet. From there, it is going to the different places where you are receiving. Somewhere you are from the Nagpur and you are receiving at the Nagpur. Then there are a lot of in between things are coming, right? There are complete wireless networks are coming into the picture. Suppose somebody is using from the mobile, but when I am doing it, my computer, I am having an audio card inbuilt on the particular motherboard. They are doing necessary coding for transmitting on the Cat5 cable, and that is in the network, right? Now anything else, suppose if we take an example of DTH connection. So DTH in the television, we are getting AM and FM signal, but when it is a DTH transmitting with the digital modulation. So there is a digital transmitter and receiver. They are differentiating the digital signal, and then they are coming back to the analog signal, and then analog signal will be coming as a
Hello, audio is not coming.
Sir, audio is missing.
Yes, yes, please wait.
Okay, ma'am.
Hello? Sir, you are not audible.
Madam, voice is missing.
Yes, yes. Just a minute, friend. Please wait. ओके सर का मैसेज है उनके यहाँ के लाइट गए हैं सो ही विल ज्वाइन शॉर्टली 5 मिनट में सर ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं प्लीज वेट एम आई ऑडिबल
Yes, madam.
यस यस
Yes,
5 मिनट के लिए वेट करिए
Yes, ma'am.
या
okay.
right. I will show you the demonstration at any time, not an issue. But first, just go with this, because all this area, right, that we are talking right now, that is all now outdated area. 3G networks, okay, very few places we are using the 3G network. What is next? That is very important. And in that area, if you are working, but for any area you want to work, I was explaining about the basic diagram, and that was the basic block diagram of the communication system. Everyone should know that is starting with the A to D converter, then you have a source coder, then you have a encryptor, then you have a channel coder, and then you are having multiplexing. Also you have the modulation. In the modulation, because of the development in the modulation, like we started with some BPSK, QPSK, digital modulation, and then we are moving into the QAM. So I have observed that up to 64 QAM, 256 QAM, 1024 QAM are possible. So you have to, when you are going and moving into the latest technology of quadrature amplitude modulation, you need a simulator, because latest version of the software are allowing us to do the latest simulations. If all versions are there and they are not supporting, right? So all the time we have to update ourselves with the new softwares also and new simulators also. But fundamental thing is we should know the type of type of A to D conversion, source coders, channel coders, and modulation techniques. Then multiple access like FDMA, TDMA, CDMA, or FDMA. What next? And then we should know the issues of the channel. So once we are having a channel like CISO channel, single antenna, single input and single output. But like nowadays we are using the MIMO. There is a multiple input, multiple output. So all these new technologies are coming with the latest modulation techniques, latest channel coding techniques, latest source coding techniques, latest A to D converters, and with the help of multiple access, they are having multiple antenna technologies. And because of that, the new generation of the mobile is coming. If we are talking only the mobile, right? Other than mobile, I want to discuss. So here, 3G networks are universal mobile telecommunication system or terrestrial system. WCDMA is wideband code division multiple access, and all this air interface are WCDMA, TDCDMA, SCDMA, synchronous code division multiple access with time time duplexing or time division. HSPA, there is a high speed packet access, high speed download packet access. HSPA plus, that is 3G's advanced version, 3.5G you can consider. CDMA 2000 is a part of USA development, and that is a 3G interface. EVDO is evolved data only, and this is a simultaneous voice and data only, SVDO. So all this these were available in terms of some dongle, and you had to purchase the SIM card and you put it in the dongle, you get the service with the laptop also. So that was earlier 3G interface. Then in the 4G networks, we are having in the world of LTE, that is a long-term evolution which was developed, started in somewhere in 2008. So when I joined my PhD in 2010 at BIT Mesra, I was studying this LTE, and I work in the LTE advanced, and in my simulations, in my work, which was published in Springer journal, and that was regarding to the spatial multiplexing. And in the spatial multiplexing, by using the 4x4 network for transmitting antenna and for receiving antenna, we have
Slide is not
generated up
shared.
to. Yes, sir. Voice is not coming.
Slide is not shared.
Slide is not displaying. Yes. Fine.
Yes.
Is it available now? Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fine.
Yes, sir.
So this is all 3G networks that I was talking earlier. HSP, HSDPA, HSPA plus, CDMA 2000, EVDO, SVDO. So I will share this, and you can go and click, and you can get the detailed idea of this. But these all are still in the past, we can consider, because up to 2010, 11, 12 or 13, 14, we were using the 3G networks. And after Geo came in 2016, mostly the 4G network started. And now today's news is that Vodafone has checked the 5G speed and better than Airtel and Geo. So future is very bright in this regard. These are all the 4G networks, LTE, LTE advanced. Suppose I click on this, and you can get the LTE structure or architecture, right? So that is far different than the architecture of the that we have studied about the 2G. So 2G architecture and 3G, 4G architectures are very different. And all about this history of LTE, and mostly the this thing about the LTE, you can get it from the site of the LTE. So this is a basic structure, right? So all the terminologies are changed now, right? All these terminologies are changed compared to the 2G networks that we are teaching in the syllabus, or 2.5G networks we are teaching in the syllabus, right? So here, what is changed? How it is changed? What is the function of each and every block defined here, right? So that is the area of work that you can do. Now, for LT communication or LT simulation, you need a latest version of the MATLAB, as well as in the NetStream also. We are doing the LT simulation, but you should know the architecture. That is very important, because what you are going to
Sir, what
simulate.
is
Yes,
what
sir?
is 2.5G? 2.5G.
Yeah, 2.5G is basically that 2.5G is expansion in terms of GPRS networks and edge networks. So these all are increasing the data rate. Only thing is voice is same. Voice channel was same, but increasing the data rate. And for this enhancement in the data rate, what they've done, they've changed the software and some part of hardware. So existing 2G networks, which was GSM, which was expanded to GPRS and edge network. Now what change they've made? They've made the change in the software, in the voice coding, because voice encoders are also very important. Why it is important? Because suppose I am having a frequency of 4 kilohertz for my voice, my speech, right? So how many bandwidth, or what part of bandwidth I am going to utilize by coding? So when I code my voice signal, I am occupying this bandwidth. Instead of that, if I do something that is encoding of the voice, that is a voice encoder or vocoder we are calling. So it's a voice coder, and within the same bandwidth, I can accommodate more than one channel or one user. So that is 2 users. So within the bandwidth, if I can accommodate more than 2 users, more than one user, then my bandwidth utilization will be doubled, because initially I was using one user, now I am using 2 users because of my encoding. So suppose I am utilizing 4 kilohertz of the band. Instead of that, if I utilize 2 kilohertz of the band, so within the 4 kilohertz, I can accommodate 2 users. So that was the technology improvement in the accommodating more number of user, as well as to give the better quality or more data rate in this system. And that's why earlier mobile, those who have used, right, sometimes they were getting G sign because GSM network was available. Sometimes they are getting H sign. Sometimes they are getting H sign. H sign was HSPA, that is the part of 3G networks. So sometimes you are getting 3G speed if you are having a 3G card. So SIM card is also important, right? So based on available network or available data rate, and data rate is depends on what? That is again, there is a relations to the SNR, right? So if I get the opportunity somewhere, right, I will explain this in terms of that, because SNR is the signal strength. If signal strength is good, then your modulation will be better. If modulation is better, then you can get the data rate better. If signal strength is poor, then modulation is going to be reduced. Reduced in the sense, suppose I am using QAM, 16 QAM. But if my SNR is not proper, I have to move to the QPSK. So earlier I am getting more data rate because of 16 QAM, but my SNR is poor. I have to move or switch to the QPSK. It is all automatically done by the receivers. So they check the signal strength, and accordingly, and that's why we are getting fluctuation in the data rate. Okay. So this is all development towards the 2G and 2.5G. If you want to go with the technical specification, I can show you all this specification. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Hello. Are you satisfied
Yes, sir.
with the answer?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Sir,
So this is
one
your
thing, please,
question. Yes, sir.
if possible, please demonstrate one simulation, how it is working through network simulator. Okay.
Network
So
simulation.
how encryption is done at the server end or at the router end or switch end? How it is implemented? How we can identify that it is not done at the sender end or receiver end? So, if
Okay.
possible,
So-
please
so that
demonstrate
you are
using
asking-
the simulator itself.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Because see, simulation requires the complete set of blocks, right? So there are two types of simulators available. Suppose if you use the MATLAB, so MATLAB is having the blocks. The different blocks are there. Like suppose you need to transmit binary data, you have a binary Bernoulli generator. So that is the input data that you are putting. Second thing you required, suppose you are using a QPSK modulation, right? If you are interested to see that, I can show you how you can do this. But when we are going with the simulation, it will take a lot of time to understand it, and more question will come definitely. I can take the permission because actually that I prepared is the world of wireless communication is that what technologies right now existing and in which area you can work, right? But let's go with that because it will take some time to load the MATLAB also. Okay, let it. Now what you want to simulate, that is also important, right? If your area of work is regarding to the LT or LT receiver, then you can work with the LT receiver. If you are interested to work in the WiMAX, you can simulate the WiMAX system. If you are interested to work with the CDMA technology, you can simulate the CDMA, right? So all these possibilities are there with the MATLAB simulator. And same thing if you want to do with the network simulator. So in the network simulator, there are different kind of user defined system like ID, that is integrated development environment, not like the MATLAB. Let's start with the Simulink. How many of you are familiar with MATLAB? Can you see the MATLAB screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
In future, for getting the high speed access, we need a high speed wireless networks. That's sure. And in the pandemic, if you see, the real warriors are those who have given the wireless services. Without that, it could not be possible. I will go with the new model, so it will go fast. See, this is a Simulink screen. So now you are going to simulate some basic model, right? We start with some basic thing. So I am starting with my, this is a Simulink library browser. And in this, I will go to the communication system toolbox. Everyone can see this, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And this is a communication source. This is my random data source. So first I need the Bernoulli binary generation or random integrator generator or random integer generator. Say suppose I am putting random integer generator here. So I need the random number. Or I can put, now who will decide that what we have to put, right? So that is the practice you need with the simulators. Lot of model you have to run and then you can get the perfect idea. Now suppose I kept this, right? Both I am keeping here right now. Whichever is perfectly working with our model, we will go and work it out there. Now I will go to the modulation directly, in which digital baseband modulation. Then I will go into the phase modulation and I am having a QPSK, right? That is quadrature phase shift king. So this is a QPSK modulator baseband and QPSK demodulator. So I put my QPSK modulator, drag and drop. So I am making very simple model to give you the understanding, right? Now this is my demodulator. So that I am keeping here. Right click, flip, right? Because this is at the receiver side. Now where I need to connect this, okay? So I have to introduce the channel. So I will go with the channel. You can calculate free space, path loss, everything, right? RF impairment correction. See here there is a source coding block. System. These are my channels. Now first, to understand basic way, I will use the AWGN channel. So that is a additive white Gaussian noise. You are having other fading channels also, CISO fading channel. Suppose I check CISO fading channel, I double click it. I am having options of relay and region. Suppose I am going to use relay channel, region channel. So relay channel is basically, region channel is basically line of sight. There is a direct signal you are receiving and some multipath. There is a reflected, diffracted, scattered signal that you are receiving at the receiver. So when you are combining this direct line of sight path and non-line of sight path, then it's a region channel. But there is no direct line of sight path. Suppose you are somewhere in the college and you are not observing your tower, mobile tower, from where you are getting the signal, right? So receiver cannot see the transmitter, that is a non-line of sight path. So when there is a non-line of sight path, then you are putting relay channel. But here, for our understanding, I am just keeping the ideal channel, that is my AWGN channel. So I am using this AWGN channel. Then this modulation I am connecting here. Suppose you want to put the, suppose you want to start with some 2x2 matrix, right? That is a 2x2 antenna. So you can use the Almuti encoder. There is a space-time block code encoder available here. But right now I am just going with the simple connectivity. And then your output is required to be checked. And that is to be checked by, hello? Any question?
No, sir, please continue.
Yeah. So this is my error correction and detection calculation. So I will put it like this, and my output of this QPSK be connected to the receiver, and some data I am collecting from the transmission also, right? And I need to configure the port. So I double click it. Instead of workspace, I will take my output to the port. So there is a port, and then I will put it on the display. So there is some display is required. So display can be from the common source. So you should be very familiar with this all simulation tools, so that only you can do this simulation, right? So I'm taking very simple model. That's why it is very easy for you to understand it. Okay. Now see, some signal I have generated. Now what is the signal? I will put the set size that it be there. QPSK. Okay. And I want to see some simulation with the interesting studies. So what I will put here, channels. Okay. So I'm putting constellation diagram as well as eye diagram. I want both, right? Now what is constellation? What is eye diagram? If you are familiar with the QPSK, you should know that. And this eye diagram also I am keeping here, right? Now see, I'm going to start the simulation, whether it is working or not. Okay. So what I will do here, stop the simulation first. It is now running. My model is perfectly running. What I will do here, I will put my this to infinity, and then I run it, right? So then you get the live. Now say, this is my simulation is going on. Now from this simulation, what you will say? My channel is not proper because this eye diagram is indicating this is a noisy channel, right? Because eye is not properly open. So in the studies, when we are teaching the eye diagram, we should show this. So how we can improve? Let me improve it. So first, I will check the AWGN channel. My SNR is only 10 dB. So I will put it 20 dB. So my signal strength I am increasing, and now I am giving it to the, see now. Can you see the change? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Right? So eye is what? Eye diagram is one kind of tool that we are using to see the eye is open or not. If eye is not open, that means the channel is noisy and signal is not coming properly. So that is happening in the wireless communication because channel is very noisy, right? And here also there is some modification required. Let me do this modification first. Now see, actually QPSK is happening here. Now QPSK is in the fourth quadrant. Each and first quadrant, the data is coming. So yellow dots are coming here. If you can visualize it, right? So this is the two red points are the Euclidean distance. So when data is coming in 0001, 1011 format, so your data should be very precisely separated between 2 points. So here what is happening? The data is properly coming and the eye is properly open. That's why my data is near to the point of the quadrature. That is a 45 degree. Now suppose I am changing this to observe the AWGN channel. I am putting 5 dB. So what is going to happen? See, this is my error data rate because the quality of the SNR was good. So whatever I am transmitting, no data is in error. That's why there is no error, zero error, it is indicating. Now you will see the error. See, this is a very noisy. Now see the constellation, right? Yellow color. Everywhere it is moving here and there. Okay. So this is not proper because Euclidean distance is not maintained. And because of that, you can see these errors are coming now. Okay.
Sir,
So
sir,
how
how
big
to
error rate?
identify that instead of assigning 10 by assigning 20, it is reducing the signal to noise ratio. So how to identify that we need to set 20 or 30, or it
Yes,
is
sir.
a hit
Yes,
and trial
sir.
method?
No. Normally in the power requirement of the any channel, right? For QPSK, you need at least 15 to 20 dB of the power, okay, to get the better quality of the signal. If you are going to reduce to 5 dB, then this is not desirable because at 5 dB, your error rate is going to increase. And that's why we are studying that there is a bit error rate diagram, right? It looks like this. This is your SNR and this is your BER. So how many bits are in error, right? Out of 1000 bit I am transmitting and 5 bits are in error. Then I am taking the ratio of that. Then I get the bit error rate with respect to SNR. So normally when SNR is increasing, see this, your bit error rate is decreasing. When SNR is low, then your bit error rate will be high. So that you can see here in these three diagram, how many bits are in transmitted, how many bits are in error, and what is the bit error rate. That is showing the BER. So this is the error rate calculator which directly give you the calculations. And this rate calculation, you have to go back and you have to study the QPSK modulation, right? So now you are having BPSK, you are having QPSK, you are having OQPSK, that is a orthogonal. Then you are having other modulation like QAM, right? You can test and you can compare the results, right? Which one is giving the at the same signal strength, that is SNR, how BPSK is performing, and that you can check with the constellation diagram and the eye diagram with the bit error rate. So this is the analysis you can do at the simple level, right? That beginning level. When you are just testing the basic, you are teaching, say, DCOM, digital communication. So in the DCOM, we are teaching this, right? How the actually modulation is taking place, how the channels are behaving, what is the importance of SNR, what is the meaning of constellation diagram, and what is the meaning of eye diagram. So all the concepts will be clear to the students, right? But there are very few books available for making this. You have to do the practice. So once you are, suppose I am doing my PhD, right? So a lot of simulations I have done with different models. Because of that, learning the models, I have got the idea, and that is not the 1 year or 6 months work, right? For 8 to 9 years, I have worked in this area for the simulation. Not only with the wireless, even for the DSP, for the image processing, for the speech processing, for the filter design, everywhere I am using this. Okay. So this as a
Sir,
teacher, yes
hello?
sir, yes sir,
If cryptography algorithm need to be applied, then
yes sir.
where it will be applied? Whether it is after QPSK
No,
generation
before
or
QPSK, before modulation. Why?
okay.
Let me explain. Why cryptography is required, right? Suppose this is my signal, analog signal. I am taking the sample of my signal, right? That is the first process of converting my signal into digital. So first I am taking the sample, okay? Then I am doing the quantization, that is my magnitude are required to be defined in the digital format, that is in terms of binary number, okay? So I am doing the quantization. So suppose I am giving 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 number. So this particular term, this particular point is having value 3. This particular point is having value 4.5. This particular point is having value 6. That is the magnitude of the signal, right? Now 3 is represented. Suppose I have done 8 partition of this. So that is I required 3 bits to represent one partition, means one number. So total 8 partition, that is 8 quantization level I have kept. I require 3 bit to represent my one number. So 3 is represented by 0, 1, 1. 4.5. So I have to take the average, either 4 or 5. So what I am doing, so that is 0.5 is the error. That is called quantization error. Suppose I am keeping, if it is 0.5 less than 0.5, then I will keep 4. So 4 is represented as 100, and this will be represented as 110, 6, right? So my data is now 011, 100, 110 for 3 samples. These first 3 samples. Now this is the sequence is going. Now cryptography is changing the sequence. If you change this sequence by some algorithm, right? Instead of 0, I will put 1, and instead of 1, I will put 0. Such algorithm I am putting. At the reverse side, at the receiver side, I have to decrypt it by just changing all the 0 is replaced by 1 and 1 is replaced by 0. But condition is that your data that you are sending, it should not be in error. If any bit in error at the receiver side, then again you have to put the channel coder. So channel coding is all these things that you are doing before modulation. Channel coding, source coding, and encryption. That is cryptography, right? That all you are doing before the modulation. Because modulation you are doing is the final set of signal. Each and every bit is required to be modulated, and that is going on to the carrier, and then it will go into the antenna. Okay, so modulation
Sir,
will come at the last. Before that,
sir,
this all thing will come. Is it clear?
yes, sir. Can you show this where this encoding or unit is present? Where it is
Yes.
present?
Yeah. So here in the modulation, you are having different error detection and correction. See, block, convolution, all these coders are there, right?
Okay,
In the
okay,
source
okay.
coding part,
Thank you, sir.
you are having ALO compressor, MULO compressor, expander. Okay. So whatever you are learning or what we are teaching in the digital communication, if you connect each and every block diagram and you make it the simulation and then you teach, definitely it will make a different teacher. A student will learn it and perfectly they can learn it.
Whether
Is it
these
clear?
units, yes, sir, yes, sir. Whether
Yes.
these units have corresponding coding section. Just by double clicking it, it will open the code side for some algorithm implementation. Whether such feature is present.
What you are saying that actually what I am understanding is each and every block is having a help, right? How to use this block for what purpose? Because say, first of all,
No,
you
sir.
should know that what is encryption, the
No, sir.
complete
I am
algorithm,
okay.
okay, and where it is applicable. It is not applicable everywhere. Wherever it is required, then only you are. Suppose I am using this random integer generator, right? So the function of this generator is it is directly giving me the digital bits randomly. So I am not converting my analog signal into digital right now. I am not using any sampling or quantizer. I am directly using the bits available readily, and that is random bit I am taking. There is no data actually, but I have also transmitted my original data, my voice, some music files, some images, all this that I have transmitted and I have received. When you are transmitting images, then something differently you have to convert it into digital format, right? So this is all processing part regarding to the you are transmitting something on image you are transmitting with the communication system. Are you getting this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.
Thank you.
So actually I have not covered in my sessions, because a lot of things I have differently come, but say these are the all things that I am doing, right? And even NetSim simulator, GSM modulation, other modulations are GSM architecture simulation that we are doing, and that's why we are teaching it them, because in the online medium, what we can give to them, right? If they are not coming physically, but they can access this MATLAB. The student versions are freely available. They can enroll and they can download the student version and they can do the simulation. Okay, but now it's okay, but they are coming offline. So even offline they are coming. They should know this concept. Is it okay? So now just I'm moving my slide faster. Continuing with this. I hope all of you are satisfied with this simulation.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So these are all, this is the next level Wi-Fi technology. So it's starting with the 802.11, B, A, G, N, SC, X. All these are having some data rate, link rate, when it is adopted. Now you click on this, you will get access to the particular topic, right? Then Bluetooth technology, again, Bluetooth is used for what purpose? So this is only for all for the communication purpose, right? So a lot of standards are there in the Bluetooth also. So all these standard you can access, and this is a Bluetooth special interest group. You go and you can get the idea about that. Okay, what is the SIG? Okay, and if you are doing something, so how many members are there, right? Ericsson is there, Intel is there, Nokia, Toshiba, Microsoft, Lenovo, Apple. All these big companies are there as a member of this. Okay. These are the wireless sensor network. This is another area of research. Wonderful thing that you can do here, right? So all thing about the wireless sensor network, you will get it from here. This is the main link. If you click here, right, you will get the access of wireless sensor network, all the hardware, what you required, right? What is the purpose of this? So you get the wireless sensor network detail. Why I have considered Wikipedia? Because it's a basic source of information will be easily available to the students or any faculties, right? So you get some idea about this technology, and then you can focus and work on the literature. Because see, suppose you are here, right, and you just go and refer the references they have given at the end, right? These are the references. How many people have worked in this area? Anything you can go and you can get the research papers for your references, and out of that any topic you can select and you can work on, right? So I'm not going in detail of each because time is limited, because I have another lecture at 1 o'clock. So I have to okay. This is a wireless LAN, again the personal area network, body area network, local area network, campus area network, metropolitan area network, radio access network, wireless LAN, like all these things, wide area network, everything. And these are the area again. If you click here, wireless LAN, you will go and detail of each and every network. Suppose you want to study about body area network, you click on body area network, you get the access of this, right? So instead of reading separately, you just refer my PPT, and all the area of the wireless communication you can access from this. Almost I have covered. I have tried to cover it, right? So different kind of labor I have done. So near field communication, body area network, personal area network, near me networks, local area network, home area network, storage area network, campus area network, metropolitan man, all. Cloud, it's another area, right, of the internet. Then there is a unnamed aerial vehicle. So if you go and click unnamed aerial vehicle, it's a drone, and different types of drones are nowadays available. There is also wireless technology is controlling it. So mostly you can cover from there. Then software defined radio, it is a suppose 88 to 108 megahertz band, that is FM radio. we are not utilizing in somewhere, because everyone knows that FM is having a limitation up to 60 kilometer. So from 60 kilometer beyond, like 100 kilometers, some city is there, but they don't have, or some town is there, then they don't have the network of the FM. At that place, 88 to 108 megahertz is not working, right? Nobody is using it. So why we cannot use it for the local transmission? So how we can make our radio such that it will, like, it check the cognitivity, whether the signals are coming at that frequency or not. You check it, and if the frequency band is free in that area, you transmit and receive your signal on that particular frequency of 88 to 108 megahertz band. That is what just I am taking as an example. But right now you cannot do, because every frequencies are defined for specific applications. But in future, what will happen? The software will change the frequency, and accordingly the transmitter and receiver will adjust. So that is called the software defined radio. And lot of things are connected with the SDR also. So you can go and study again by clicking this link, and you can get more detail of this. And future technology, 5G networks, they are planning to work on the 10 Gbps of the speed. They are having two types of frequency. One is the low frequency 5G, and second is the very high frequency 5G, going to work on the 28 to 39 gigahertz. Is another big area of research, and already so many implementations started. Next generation is 6G, and that is going to give you the 100 Gbps, and they are going to work on the terahertz communication system. So you go and learn in detail. Massive MIMO, multiple antennas, right? So more than 4 or 8 or multiple of that, right? So this technology antenna I have not covered anywhere, but that is another area of wireless communication, and that is also a good area of research. Future of LTE is also covered. So in this terahertz network, it is planned of 100 Gbps of the data rate. That is come into the next 10 years, right? And more IoT, more internet-based thing or cloud application will come because of the development in this area.
Sir, there is one question in chat box.
Let me go to chat
What
box.
is contribution of our India in 5G network research?
1 minute, please. I have to go back to the meeting. What is contribution of our India in 5G network research? In our Gujarat Technological University, we have got the research grant, not from our college, but other group is working, and they have started manufacturing of 5G antennas, right? And each and every IIT, they have wireless research centers. You just contact the IIT, and lot of development is going in this area also. But we are working with the combining with the other people, those who are doing research in this area. Okay, 4G is basically defined bandwidth, that is 20 megahertz to 100 megahertz. If we aggregate the carriers, that is called carrier aggregation, then we have the 100 megahertz of the channel bandwidth. So it is all depend on the future, that how we are going to aggregate the carriers, right? And whenever the frequency is increasing, when the multiple antennas are changing, because of that, the bandwidth requirement is changing, and bandwidth is allowing us to accommodate more number of data or more number of signals, and that's why the data rate is overall increasing, because there is a spectral efficiency called beat per second per hertz. So number of antennas are increasing, also we are getting the improvement in the data rate. Yes, this is a, is there any reverse effect of 5G testing on birds and human health? Yeah, there are, people are, because see 30 gigahertz, right? Sir, please clarify, that is about the 5G effects, reverse effects of 5G, or about the bandwidth?
5G
Dr.
effect, sir.
Kishore?
Previous question.
About
With
5G?
the same question, sir. About 5G testing, sir.
Yeah. 5G testing, because say it is working in the very high frequency microwave of 30 gigahertz, right? So definitely the penetration of this frequency is going to harm the human being, and that's why it is in the still it is in the research development stage, right? People are doing the exact effects of this frequency to the human being. They are studying it because in IIT we have studied that they have worked on the even 2G and 3G towers where they are harmful to the people, those who are living nearby, and they have made the magnetic shielding curtains, and they are selling it to the people because some radiation effects are there, and because of that people are getting the disease like cancer. That is they have studied, right? So in detail, what is the exact effect, because 5G is before coming into the market, before putting into the market for the real work, they have to test all these effects, and if it is harmful, definitely government will not allow them to enter. So first they have to find the solution of this, and then only they can come into the market. According to my knowledge, that what I am sharing with you. I have not worked in detail of any of these harmful effects, but there are certain harmful effects even in the 2G and 3G towers. Okay.
Sir, shall we end here because there is break of half an hour and then another session will be at 1 o'clock. But due to time constraint, we have to concise our session, please.
What you are saying, ma'am?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Friends, if you have any query, you can please ask.
Sir, please share the PPT.
Yes, sir. So participants are asking about presentation sharing.
Yeah, I will send it to ma'am. I think Preeti ma'am is
Yes, sir. Yes.
communicating with me, right? So I will share the PPT.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And anything, any help they require anytime in future, right? I will share my mail ID and contact number. Let me put my contact number here. 53758.
Yes. Friends, sir has shared his contact number in our chat box. Kindly note it down. Contact number and mail ID also.
Kindly give the feedback also
Yes, sir.
that
Yes.
how they found this session. Okay, ma'am.
Yes. So thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful informative session as well as demonstration also. So on behalf
Thank you,
of
ma'am.
all the participants, I extend my thanks to Dr. Paresh Dholakia, sir, for accepting our invitation and conducting wonderful session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone, for
Thank
listening me.
you.
Thank you, sir. Can I leave?
फ्रेंड्स इट्स 12:54. आज का अपना ब्रेक थोड़ा कम समय के लिए रहेगा बिकॉज एज वी आर हैविंग अनदर सेशन वी विल स्टार्ट अवर नेक्स्ट सेशन बाय 1:15. 1:15 we will start with our next session. Will it be okay for you? Just take break of 15 minutes and please come back and stay connected. Don't leave the meeting. मैं मीटिंग एंड नहीं कर रही हूँ, आप लोग मीटिंग को लीव मत करिए. जस्ट टेक ब्रेक ऑफ 15 minutes and please come back.
Thank you.